everyone, and welcome to Take Two Radio. I'm Pam, your host, and joining me tonight is my good buddy, David. Hello, David.
Hi, Pam. How are you this evening?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fine, thank you.
You're welcome, and I hope you're prepared in case I get hit with a storm again.
Oh, please.
Yeah, I know that it's funny, but it wasn't funny to have that happen. But unfortunately, it does happen with the storms around here. You get one good bolt of lightning, and all of a sudden, everything goes out. But the fortunate part about it the other night was that it did come back up right away. And I didn't leave you stranded.
No, you didn't.
Well, I think we're all good for now. I don't see any dark clouds. They said rain maybe later on, so we'll see. But I'm very excited to get to our guest tonight. She's an amazing actress. A lot of people know her from Another World, and a lot know her from Jericho, or maybe 2.5 Men, or some of the many other projects that she's had. She's also an author now, and I'd like to welcome Alicia Coppola.
Hi, Pam. Hi, David. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome, and thank you again for joining us. How's your weather out there? You're in California, aren't you?
Yes, I think right now we're going through the June gloom, but today I think it broke a little bit because it was in the high 80s. And the valley in Los Angeles in summer at 100 degrees is like being in Manhattan in August. It's like you're in a vacuum. It's awful. It's very, very hot. And in New York, you have like that sticky, that like the humidity here, it's very dry.
Yeah, that's the one thing that, in people that live in California or on the West Coast like that have that hot weather, and they always say, oh, it's so hot, it's so hot. And then there's us Midwest people and the East Coast people that have to deal with the humidity on top of the heat, and we're laughing at you.
I'm sure a lot of people just laugh at us who live in California anyway. It's kind of a weird place to live.
My dad had a saying about that, but I'm not going to say it on air. But it's nothing bad. I just don't want anybody to take it the wrong way. So.
Well, I think I just pretty much said it for you.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yes.
Well, I always like to start out this show with getting a little background on our guest, because sometimes we have listeners that, may not be familiar with who our guest is. We're going to go back a little bit and touch on when you were the hostess of MTV's game show called Remote Control.
Wow.
Was that something you auditioned for to gain experience in a different area of entertainment, or did you just love game shows?
No, none of the above. But
no.
Thank you for playing. I was going into my senior year at NYU, and I was modeling. And my modeling agency, Elite, had a commercial division. And that commercial division sent me out on this audition, thinking, why not? Go ahead. And I went. And I remember, I think I had anywhere between 4 and 5 callbacks. And I would get on the subway and go all the way uptown. And because MTV at that point was way up in like the hundreds. And and I remember my final callback was just a chemistry test, basically, between me and Colin and Ken. That's Colin Quinn and Ken Ober, and I got it. And I was so happy because I had always been a very creative kid. And I, would go from playing the piano to playing the flute to, writing or dancing. And I never felt like I found my niche. I always liked to write. But as far as the other things, I never thought, oh, well, I'm going to be a flautist, when I'm older.
Right.
And being on MTV and the short time that I did Remote Control, it opened up something in me. And I thought, wow, I like this. I like what I'm doing here. I like how it makes me feel. And that was the beginning of my career.
Wow. Now, how do they have you audition for a game show? What do you have to do?
Honestly, I think I had to be, pretty. Look good in lycra.
And know how to read.
know how to talk and walk and chew gum at the same time, and that was pretty much the requirement. Yeah,
okay.
and it also, I think, helped that I had pretty good, comedic timing even then, although I may not have realized it at the time. Because if you think about who I started out with, Adam Sandler, Dennis Leary, Mario Joyner, Colin Quinn, Ken Ober, Michael Dugan was one of the producers and writers of the show. Leslie Collins, they were all like really incredibly bright, smart, funny people.
Right.
And so they must have seen something in me that gave them confidence that I could keep up with them.
Well, yeah, because I don't think you would have gotten it otherwise. But we've seen different areas
not,
where
because it was, competition. I remember there were a bunch of other girls there, so I'm grateful for whatever they saw in me that they decided to take a chance, because that introduced me to my career for the past 20-something years.
Now, when you left there, is that when you went to Another World?
I finished my stint and completed my senior year at NYU. I graduated in August of 1990. I moved home to take care of my father. My father died in January of 91, and I got Another World, I believe it was April, right before my 23rd birthday.
Oh, wow. Wow. So you did quite a bit in between then, and I know taking care of your dad and being with him was, of course, first and foremost, the most important thing that you had to do at that time.
Right. And before Another World, but after Remote Control, I did do, backdoor pilot. I did a couple of episodes of shows, so I was working. All of a sudden, this door just completely opened up to me, and I started to work. And it was really a wonderful, exciting time of my life. And then, of course, yes, then I went on to the soap in 91.
Well, your character, Lorna Devon, was described as a vixen and an antagonist, so I would guess that you probably had fun playing her.
Not only did I have fun playing her, but Lorna came into my life. Whenever I start to doubt, or even then, that I wasn't doing the right thing, or I was having a little bit of a crisis of faith, I like to say something happens which reminds me that I am being looked after, and that things do happen for a reason. And getting the role of Lorna was one of those instances. I was a very emotionally damaged, bruised, angry, early 20-year-old girl. My father had just died. I was a bit of a mess. My family was just the whole, everything was basically like I was living in the inside of a washing machine. It was just turned upside down in every which way. And so getting Lorna gave me an outlet, because Lorna was also damaged. She was also a lot of fun. She was saucy. She was brilliant. She was a musical genius. At the end of the day, Lorna was just a girl trying to find herself and be loved, and also be loved by the woman who gave her up, who abandoned her, which was her mother, Felicia. So there was all of that to explore as well. So Lorna was, I think, one of the most wonderful gifts that I've ever been given in my career. And just to me personally, because I was able to be in an environment where there were so many open arms to welcome me and to help me grieve. It's where I met Linda Dano, who is still my mama and grandmother to my 3 girls. So that character gave me an awful lot.
That's, I really believe in fate, and I think you were fated to play her at that time.
I agree.
Now, was it easy for you to memorize all those lines going into a soap? I know that there's more lines to memorize than doing just like a primetime show or a movie. Is that something that came easy to you, or not so much?
Yeah, no, it's something that's always come very easy to me. I always say that line memorization, I will study them with my head, but learn them with my heart. it doesn't take me very long. And at that time, we did, 50 pages a day, which would be an hour-long episode. I think it was incredible training. I think every young actor should be on a soap because they learn very quickly what is and is not accepted, and how to prepare for the day's work.
Right.
No, for me it was very easy. I mean, I also learned from the best. I learned from Linda. So even to this day, it doesn't require much for me to memorize many pages of dialogue. It's just simply a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
Well, maybe I should start using my muscle a little bit more.
You can. Do crosswords. I also in college used to love memorizing poetry. So, again, I was doing something that I would later find to be quite beneficial.
Oh, wow. It's funny because I have written some poetry, and I could not sit here and tell you what one of them was. So that tells you something about me. David,
well,
you
you'll
had
have
some
to work
questions.
on that.
Yeah, I do.
Oh. I do?
Go ahead,
yes, I do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Your character, Lorna, initially came on as a music promoter for Matt Corey and Dean Frame. What, if any, research did you have as a reference for that role?
Nothing. Because I didn't really look at her, and I even now rarely do look at the profession of a character. It's irrelevant to me at the time. And depending on the kind of character, I actually should backtrack and say that. Depending on the kind of character and the context in which the profession is involved will either be relevant or irrelevant to me. In that case, I was looking at Lorna's, her insides. I was looking at her damage. I was looking at her baggage. So whether she was a nurse or a garbage man or a music producer, it didn't matter to me.
How about that? That's
except for the clothes, because I got to wear some cool clothes.
Oh, yeah, the clothes.
Yeah.
Okay. What lessons have you learned from your co-stars Alicia Coppola, Matt Crane, and Ricky Paul Golden?
Then or now?
Either.
Well, Alicia Coppola, I think, is one of the most open, kind, and compassionate women that I'd ever met, especially meeting her as a girl. Her family came here from Russia and the things that they had to go through. I remember having Alla come to my house, and my mother made a cucumber salad, and Alla had never had that. And the look of joy on her face, the look of appreciation, and she was so grateful to have that plate of food. I learned that from her. I learned about how to be appreciative of what you're given. Now I've learned from her that she took the bulls by the horn and she created her own organic skincare line called Luvala with her husband Yuval. It is an incredible skincare line. I use it myself. I use it on my children. I used it when I was pregnant, when I was nursing. And so I learned again from Alla to recognize where you are in life, to see that you have something that's important to you, that's, another way that you want to express yourself, and go for it. Same thing with Ricky Paul. Ricky, I remember at the time, was just a really welcoming guy. He's just a very nice guy. Not a bad word to say about anybody. He's a very gracious and generous actor as well as a gracious man. And I remember when he left the soap, and I saw him doing all sorts of different things, and now I believe he has a show on like HD